All right, Kerry, welcome to the Girl Techno podcast. How are you?
I am so good, and I love what you're doing here. Such amazing
Thank
work and an
you.
amazing podcast. I'm so honored to be here with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I want to jump into like the story behind the brand. So I know your book is One Thought Away, and it's really a beacon of hope. Can you kind of share with us the reason why you decided to write this book? And then I believe, did you launch the program after that once you wrote the book, or it's like the chicken
Well,
before the
that is
egg?
a
Which one
great
came
question.
first?
That is a great question. I have never had that question. Actually, I've been in the industry like 20 years. I've been in this
Hmm.
industry of personal development and mindset mastery for about 20 years.
Hmm.
And about 10 years ago, I had a brick and mortar in Southern California where people would actually come to me. And I
Hmm.
did trauma resolution work, I did body work, I did some coaching, nutrition work. But then I heard about this online business model and I was like, what the heck is that? Like, whoa. And
Yeah.
so I gave myself a 2-year transition period to
Hmm.
replace my brick and mortar, my in-person practice with my online income. And then at that point, I said, and then I'll shut down the doors of my brick and mortar, which is
Hmm.
like just being able to actually walk into a clinic and see me.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by brick and mortar. And so I've actually been in this industry. I've been doing this support work for a really long time. I've been doing mentorship for a long time. And the one thought away concept was something that was always an underlying through line. Sorry, it was
Hmm.
like underlying through line to what we teach. We meaning my coaches. I have a team of coaches. I have a team. But it was a couple years ago that we said, okay, it's time for a book. Like we've gotten
Yeah.
asked so many times, where's your book? What's your book? I want to go get your book. And so finally we buckled down, made space on the project calendar to get the book out and pulled the one thought away concept out because it really is so strong and can stand on its own.
Hmm.
And it is a concept that anybody can wrap their minds around. Like it's simple, although not always easy,
Yeah.
right? Like it's
Hmm.
simple to say, oh, one thought away. Okay. I can change my thought one thought by thought by thought. I create my life. But that's where also like the support of the coaching team and the mentorship and the curriculum really comes into play because as we know, even if things sound simple, it doesn't mean it's always easy, especially
Yeah.
if you're trying to superwoman it by yourself on your own. So we've been doing programs like right now we're filling the 19th group of this specific our Dream Life Accelerator program.
Wow.
So we've been doing the programs for a long, long time. Hundreds of women have already gone through the
Mm.
programs, but the book actually officially launched last Mother's Day, and we hit
Oh,
#1 international bestseller and all the things. But the process is something that I've been teaching for a very long time.
oh, wow. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
Really? That
I
is
know, quite an
awesome.
achievement. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
you're so right about that one thought away when it comes to mindset. And it's one of the hardest things for us to shift. And it's one of the things that need the most work. And I believe the most daily practices behind it. Because I feel like people
yeah.
sometimes think that, oh, I'm going to change my mindset. It's like a destination when it's like, no, it's actually a life journey, right? Of figuring yourself out, going on this roller coaster of mindset changing. Because even for me, it's like I know it's hard for me to change my mindset, and I try to work on it daily through different little things that I try to do, meditation, just affirmations and things of that nature. But it's such a hard thing to conquer. Do you find that with your clients that come to you, do you find that the mindset is like one of the most hardest things that they have to conquer, or not conquer, but mainly adapt, right? Like try to
Transform. Yeah,
transform.
yeah.
That's the word. Yes.
Right. Absolutely. Yes, and I
Mhm.
love the yes and. Yes, it can be really, really hard to shift it. And
Mhm.
anybody with the right mentorship and the right community and structure in place can do it. So no matter
Yeah.
where our friends are today, no matter what your current economic status or the status of your business that you're just launching, or
Yeah.
maybe trying to breathe life into a business that you've had for a while that maybe has fallen off a little bit, maybe during the pandemic or something, you can shift your situation but it takes consistency. It takes focus and commitment and consistency. And, a lot of the times people go, oh, I went to a 7-day challenge. Now everything's going to change. Or
Yeah.
I went to one master class and now I get it and everything's going to change. Or I read that book, like my book. It's an awesome book. What we hear from a lot of women that their book is highlighted and written in the margins and ear tagged because it's become a workbook of their life, for their life, the life that they want to create. But it still takes more than just reading that book once and then your life is going to change, because we have decades and decades of programming in our brains. Like, I'm going to say all of this in a really simple term. I geek out on studying the brain. I love studying the brain and the mind, but in very simple terms, every thought that we have lays a different road or street in our brain called a neuroconnection. Like, and every time you think that thought, or every time you drive that specific route to drop your kids off at school, let's say, every time you drive that specific route, you're deepening and strengthening that this is how life is. Oh, this is just the route we take. Oh, this is just the route we take. Oh, this is just the route we take. And so every time we might have a thought like, oh, my business is never going to get off the ground. Oh, this is too hard for me. Oh, maybe I don't have what it takes to really make an impact in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, why would clients ever want to pay me that much? Who am I to charge that much? Right? So each time you have that thought, like, you're deepening that programming in your brain, but we don't even understand a lot of the times that that's the route that we're taking, or those are the thoughts that we're having, because they are our baseline, because they're the thoughts that we've just been having for so long that there are blind spots. And so it's another reason why it's so important to have mentorship and community. Like, I have mentors and my mentors have mentors, because getting other people's eyeballs on our stuff that aren't emotionally attached to our stuff can help us understand what we can't see.
Yeah.
Right. And so it can be simple, but again, it goes back to, yes, the concept is simple, but it doesn't mean the practice is easy.
Yeah.
And it takes consistency. Like, really, it takes a lot of consistency to make it happen.
Yeah. Being very intentional about your steps and your consistency to make it happen, to shift. Yeah, I believe that 100%. You've been very open about your own struggles and with self-esteem and eating disorder. Can you kind of tell us what was a defining moment for you that made you decide to choose a more healthier and happier path? Because that's, like I said, with mindset, we struggle with that. We struggle with our own things that we're dealing with ourselves. And what was that defining moment for you to say, you know what, I'm taking my life back in a different way?
Yes. So, right out of college, I went into the Peace Corps. And so I was a couple years abroad. And by the time I moved back to the United States, I hadn't seen my sister for a few years. And so I wanted to be close to her. She had moved to San Diego, California by that point. And so I was like, oh, she's on the beach. I'll just move there for a little while and then move back to Hawaii, because I was going to move back to Hawaii. That's how I landed here in Southern California. And I got a job right away, leveraging my visual communications bachelor's. And so I got a graphic design position. I was working in a software company. I loved the job. I loved graphic design. But what I noticed is that every time I was up against like a deadline, I'd get super stressed out. Or when I had a delivery, or if I felt insecure about what I was doing in my career. And there was this one specific time I had a big delivery, a big project, and it was due the next day. And I remember driving home. I remember even where I was on the freeway. I can even see it. I see my hands on the wheel. I can see it all in my mind's eye. And I was like, don't stop at the store, Kerry. Don't stop at the store, Kerry. Because my stress was heightened. And my go-to, the way I checked out, escaped, and numbed out, was with food and eating, which is why I was 50 pounds overweight, which is why my skin looked bad. I was starting to get dental issues, because at the time I was a binge and purger. Like, I would try to purge out what I would binge on, which is just an escape mechanism. Right. And so where do I find myself when I get to my neighborhood? But I find myself in front of the store, obviously. And this time it's going to be different. Right. And I make these promises to myself, and I'm going up and down the aisle, filling my cart with all my comfort food. saying, oh, this is going to last me a week or two, like any quote unquote normal person.
Yeah.
And I pay for the groceries. I get home. I'm putting all my groceries away. By this time, I truly am hungry. It's late in the evening. I haven't eaten because I stopped at the store. And I get to the peanut butter jar, and I undo that blue lid, and I peel back that silver foil, and I'm just gonna have one spoonful. And one becomes two becomes three. And as my spoon hits that bottom of that peanut butter jar, my heart breaks because once again, I've broken trust in myself.
Yeah.
Right. And so because I was also bulimic at the time, I took that long walk down my hallway. I can even feel the rug underneath my feet. And I tried to purge it out, which definitely peanut butter isn't a great food for that. And find myself crying on my bathroom floor because my heart is racing at this point. And I knew enough about health to know that my electrolytes had become imbalanced. And so I was now impacting my cardiovascular system. And so that's why my heart was racing. And in that moment, Shawnee, I got terrified because one of my girlfriends from college, one of my good friends, her mom had died of an eating disorder because her organs failed. And so it was like this wake up call for me, like, oh my gosh, if I don't change, I could end up like that.
Yeah.
Right. And I just got really scared. I got scared in that moment. And I said to myself, it was like a come to Jesus conversation with myself. Like, you either pick yourself up off this ground and you turn your life around, you heal and you turn your life around, or not. And if not, you pretty much know where this is headed. Right. And so, and I had never thought of it quite like that before, like the true destruction that I was doing on myself physically. And so, in hindsight, this is over a couple decades ago, but in hindsight, looking back at that moment, like it is truly through God's hand that I found the courage and the strength in that moment to pick myself up and figure it out. And I always say, this company, my company was birthed out of necessity. Like, this is exactly what I needed, but I couldn't find it. And I needed community. I really needed strong mentorship. I needed mindset mastery skills, emotional mastery skills. Like, my weight came off, all of that stuff happened, but it happened because I did the inner work. I did the inner work, and then my health got better. My weight got better. I was finally doing work in the world that I loved, helping other women have the lives that they want and understand their value and their worth. And I would not have the life I have today if I hadn't gotten good mentorship and community around me to get up off that bathroom floor.
Yeah. And so you stress the mentorship and the community piece a lot. And I think that's an important piece because as women, as entrepreneurs, a lot of time we feel like it's a solo journey where we don't really reach out to other people. And I had this conversation the other day with another guest when it comes to mentoring. It's like, how do you now reach out to someone for mentoring? And then she said, well, we have programs. You don't have to be just one-on-one. It's group mentoring. It's programs now that, offer that. And so it's meant that mentoring and that community piece are a huge part of the journey for you as an entrepreneur and will you advise that for other entrepreneurs as well?
Absolutely. So let me speak directly into entrepreneurism. So I've been a business owner. I feel like I've been saying 20 years for a while. So it might be more. Might actually be more.
Might be
I feel like I've been saying
now.
that for a really long time. Yeah, probably. So your journey as a business owner, your journey as an entrepreneur is going to be one of the greatest spiritual journeys. This is for our friends here. It's going to be one of the greatest spiritual journeys of your life, right? Because you will be tested. You're going to have
every step of
all
the way.
the things. Yeah. All the things are going to be thrown at you when you're a business owner. And it doesn't mean it's bad. It's going to grow you. But there's a lot of moving pieces. And And let me just say also, like, and then you throw on your personal life on top of it. Like, I'm the mom of 3 young kids. My
Mm-hmm.
twins are 2. My son is currently 8. You know, I'm in my 50s. I had my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I had the twins at 48.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
I would have never guessed that.
yeah, you do this personal development work. I swear it reverses aging. It totally, I look and feel better now in my 50s. I don't think my lighting is really good today on this app or whatever, but I swear I look better than that. But I'm like, what is going on there? But let me say this. I look and feel better in my 50s than I did in my 20s, for
Mm.
sure, hands down. And that's
Yeah.
because I have the inner work done, which then comes out through your pores. Like it helps.
Yes.
Like there is a real thing that happens between the mind and body connection. Hands down, right? Like
Yeah.
whatever the 70 to 80,000 thoughts you're thinking a day, like my body's betrayed me, I'm fat, I'm not beautiful, I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Your
Mm-hmm.
body will, the trillions of cells are going to mold to that. So I look and feel way better in my 20s than I did in my 50s. In my 50s than I did in my 20s. And let's get back to that conversation about
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur in this journey. You will have a lot thrown at you, not just about your business, but your personal life on top of it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whatever's happening. Like I have a lot going on in my personal life. Like I'm
Yeah.
basically a single mama of 3 littles.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm, you know, sole provider, like all the things. And so, your personal work is going to be your foundation. Like you doing the inner work is the most important work you could ever do. It is your greatest return on investment because when you upgrade yourself, then every single thing in your life automatically and organically gets to go to the next level because you're the common denominator. So
Yes.
we have a lot of buckets in our life. We have our finances, we have our children or our grandchildren or
Yeah.
our careers and our health and our, you know, for me, God is my business partner. God is taking a main seat in my life. So there's a lot of
Yes.
time and effort I go into reading scripture and all that stuff. And so like when I focus on me, on making sure that I'm learning to prioritize well, communicate well, that I'm the healthiest, happiest version of me I can be. Doesn't mean I'm perfect, and I don't do it perfectly every day.
Yeah.
And we could talk about that in a minute. But everything organically gets easier. It just does. And so, for all of our friends here who I know are budding entrepreneurs or already entrepreneurs, um, I mean, I will even say this. I belonged to a business mastermind years and years ago. And it was a big one. It was like 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all given the same business strategy. And I was the most successful person in that community at the time. I don't know what's happening there now at the time. And I believe it's because I had this strong foundation under my feet. And
Yeah.
so, yes, get the business support, get that business support and marry it to the personal development support. Those two
Yes.
get to be married for you to catapult your business and catapult your successes and your results and your numbers and your team and your P&Ls and all the things to your lead gen, all the things to the
Yeah.
next level. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that because you're right. Matching that up with the personal is really how you are able to grow and see great success. Because
Yes.
you know, like I said, talking to one of the other women in terms of mentorship, and you know, and it's not even something I even thought about as an entrepreneur myself. It's like, oh, you know, I haven't even thought about mentoring. You know, I'm like, oh, there's so many different things out there. It's like, how do you really pick which one you believe might be a best fit for you? Because some people might be better at one-on-one, some people might be better in coaching groups, like group form,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or master classes and masterminds and stuff like that. So it's something I know I get questions about from my audience, but also something I have questions about myself, which is why I was like, oh, let me ask
Yeah.
that question to see.
Well, that's really great. You know what? So what we do is because we really want to specialize it to the women that we work with. There's
Mm-hmm.
a qualification process to work with us and stuff.
Yeah.
But our program, like for example, Dream Life Accelerator includes group and individual. And the
Mm.
reason it's a combo is, I love what you're saying, Shaman, but the reason it's a combo is because there is research done around the power of community and tribe in regards to
Mm-hmm.
community, collaborative wisdom, streamlining your process to your results, like collapsing time, getting to your
Yeah.
results faster because you learn from other people. And with that being said, we also don't want the women that work with us to get lost in the sea of the group, right?
Yes.
We don't want anybody to hide out because they're an introvert or whatever. Like, everybody gets to be seen. Everybody gets to have a voice. So then what we do is we also assign everybody a one-on-one performance coach, a coach from our team. And so not only do they get the group aspect on a daily basis as much as they need, but then they get a one-on-one deep dive every single month, a personal deep dive every single month to work with their coach. Because what happens in a lot of communities that I've seen in a lot of programs, and I've been a part of a lot of programs, and I've seen it, is that when there's not that intimacy, like we become family with our clients, like honestly, we become family. And so if that's not there, then you can easily get to the end of the program and nobody's really kept a finger on the pulse with you, and they don't really know what's happening, and they assume you're doing the work, or they assume you're getting your results, but you might not be. Right. And so that's why we have made sure that, like, and even with that being said, we say you get to have that deep dive every single month. You can't accumulate, you can't not use one and hoard them all for like the end of the program. Like you get to, we've done this for so long with so many hundreds of women. We know that when you have the consistent one-on-one as part of your group program, your performance skyrockets.
Yeah.
We want to see measurable results.
Yeah, I believe that. You're right. I like that, because like a lot of groups will have you just in the group and you will get lost in it and not ask questions and maybe not get what you really need to get out of because you're not getting that one-on-one attention. But I like the fact that everyone gets that one-on-one time on a monthly basis just to hear them out, just so you'll know that they're in it and that they're doing the work, because you will get lost in the sauce of things when it comes to mentoring, coaching, coaching people, or even hiring a coach when it's a group, because some people are introverts. Like you said, they don't want to be the one that's out and talking and asking all the questions. They kind of want to be the ones that play in the background and just kind of listen to everyone else. But that one-on-one kind of forces them now to engage and interact and to begin to talk about what they're going through. So I really like that about the program.
And they love it. Oh my gosh. I've had so many women who have come in and gone, oh, I'm an introvert, I don't think I'm going to like your group or whatever. And then sometimes they're the ones who are like leading the way because being an introvert was actually just part of the old story. Part of the old, part of, I'm not going to say problem, part of the old pattern, right? They learn maybe from childhood, oh, kids should be seen but not heard.
Yes,
or
exactly.
They've learned, quiet down, you're too loud. Or they've learned, stop, you're too needy. You're needy. You're needing too much. You ask for more than your share, and so part of that introversion might actually be just part of an old story, and that isn't really who you are anyways, but it's just become part of how they've identified with themselves.
Yeah.
And so, so there's, it's a golden opportunity to shed what's not working and bring in more of what's working.
Yeah. And I like that, because you're right. A lot of time we connect with the story, like you said, that we tell ourselves. The reason why we're not doing something, the reason why we can't do something is because of the story we tell ourselves, and we believe it. And that's the story we give to everyone else when they ask, well, why you want to do this? Oh, it's because, I felt this way and I don't do this because it'll make me feel this way, versus actually trying something different. So you talk about your program, it's called Dream Accelerator. Is that what it's called? Dream
Life Accelerator.
Dream Life Accelerator. So is that in addition to your other program, or that's a new program you developed?
This is the, so at the time that we're talking right now, we are actually in our 19th group of that program.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
We've been doing this a while. Yeah. We're not throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping it sticks. It sticks, right? It sticks. You come in, you do we always say to people, your one job with us is just take the coaching. Take the coaching, apply the coaching. Take the coaching, apply. Obviously, there's different layers to that, but because the brain, like the way our brain works is that the brain wants to know where it's headed. It wants it to be simple so it doesn't get overwhelmed. And so when we say just tell your brain, take the coaching, be coachable, take the coaching, apply the coaching, then the women that work with us know, because we break it down every week. This is what you're focused on this week. This is what you're going to be focused on the next week. So every week builds upon the week before. And so they just know, okay, I just need to take the coaching and apply the coaching. It's going to work. It's worked 1,000 times before. Why wouldn't it work for me? And so, because here's the deal with the brain. The brain is going to hook into some plan. And if we're not strategic and give it a plan that we designed to create your dream life, it will hook into a plan by default. And then even as you're sleeping on an unconscious level, it will be working towards making that plan come true. Right. And so it's one reason we are just sticklers. We're sticklers for how we speak, how we think, how we're in relationship to our emotions. The words that we're putting out, the brave declarations that we're putting out on our lives every single week, we're just such a stickler for it because your brain will be working towards getting you that result even while you sleep. And so it's really important to know, well, what do I want? And then how am I planning to get there?
Yeah. So I heard this one, someone told me before, when it comes to, like you said, when you're sleeping, your brain is working towards how to get there. So it's what we tell ourselves in terms of, he's a mindset coach himself. And he said, if you're telling yourself that you can't do something, or either, oh, this is too hard, I'm trying to start this business, it's too hard. He said, your brain now is going to work towards making it hard for you because you convinced yourself that it's hard. And I was like, oh my God, is that really how it works? Like, he's like, so that's when people tell you have to shift your mind, because if you consistently say something is hard, your brain is working towards you making it hard. If you can say, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get it, your brain is working towards you not actually achieving it. Is that really how it works?
Yes. Sorry. It really is. Well, let me say this. It is part of how it works.
Yeah.
Yes, that is how it works. And so that's why it's important to have all the things in place so that you can start to catch yourself. Because remember, it's actually in the beginning, like when women first start working with us, it's totally unconscious because it's just how they've known to operate for so long. Like, for example, somebody with chronic fatigue, when it's not until they start to feel better that they realize how tired they actually were, because how tired they actually were became their normal. And they just operated from that place for so long. But then when they start to feel better and they start to feel energetic and they start to get excited about waking up in the morning and what do I get to go do with my day and my business, and who do I get to serve, and what money do I get to create, and how do I get to donate to charities I love? Like, it's not until they start feeling better can they really, in hindsight, even see how tired they even were in the past.
Yes.
Right? And so another reason why it's often we can't see the blind spots, right? Because those blind spots are what we've identified with for so long.
Wow. This is like eye-opening for me. It really is.
Yeah, good.
It really is eye-opening. I know it's going to be very eye-opening to a lot of my listeners too, because it's just like you said, with the mindset, and I feel like it's such a message. And I believe those who are true listeners of this podcast know, because almost every entrepreneur that we talk about mindset. And it's a huge part of the conversation. And when it comes to either succeeding or not succeeding. And I think something you said too was very important too, is that I know a lot of people that go through coaching programs, but they don't implement the strategies. They don't implement the coaching strategies or advice or whatever tips or things that they're telling you to do to truly see the transformational changes. And I know that's important, because you said it. It's like, hey, take the coaching, implement the practices. That's what gets you to where you want to be in life, honestly.
Right. And there's certain ways of being. Like, I just did a masterclass recently on the 10 top ways women keep themselves stuck.
Yes.
Because so often we're in these ways of being and we don't even realize we're doing it. And so whether it's perfectionism or procrastination or negative self-talk or overindulgence or needing to be right or needing to look good, like there's so many built-in ways, so many ways we've gotten conditioned to be. And we get to own that those were
Yeah.
our decisions to choose to be that way, right? We get to own it. And let's not unpack our bags and live there another day, right? Like, and it doesn't mean that it's going to boom, boom, just change overnight. It takes practice. It takes work. It takes consistency to rewrite your story, to rewrite the programming on how your brain works. It takes time and consistency to learn patience and compassion with ourselves as we're
Yeah.
shifting into our new results, as we're stepping into the next level of potential.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, it can be very hard to do on your own.
Yeah.
Right. And so, as so much research has shown, there was even, I'll just give you this really quickly. I know time's coming in,
Yeah.
but there was a study done. I think it was by Harvard, and what they did is they put a group of people into a program. It was an online personal development program or health program, and they gauged all these people. Like, what were the commonalities of the people who actually hit their goals and then sustained their goals once the study was um, complete? I mean, they were still tracking people, but the actually intense part of the study was complete. And the number one thing, I read about this in the magazine The Economist years ago. My mom actually found it, and she's like, "Kerry, oh my God, this is what you've been saying." And the number one thing was what they classify as friends. And so what that meant was that the people who came into this study, who actually created community, who actually created relationship with other people who were also forward focused on common goals, were the ones who hit their goals. And then they were the ones who sustained those results, sustained the transformation past the duration of the concentrated part of the study. And so it's just wide known. And hopefully, being here and sharing this with our friends here in your community can really help them. If you don't have that piece in place, what can happen is this inner conversation of, oh, it never works for me. Oh, it works for everybody but me. I feel like I'm doing the same thing that Susie Q is doing. Why is she getting the results, but it doesn't work for me? And I feel so alone. And why bother? And it's just like at some point we get to interrupt that pattern.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. We're going to bring the show to a close because I know you have time. But one thing I want to ask you is, like, looking forward, what are one of your greatest aspirations for your program, and what are the impact you want it to have on like women and on the world going forward?
I love that question. Thank you. Without question, one of the greatest aspirations of my program, of the Dream Life Accelerator, but also the One Thought Away project, is to support and help as many women as possible, and to touch the lives of as many women as possible, to help them know that they don't need to be broken down crying on their bathroom floors any longer alone. That there's a community of women there's a community of women that have formed a sacred container to do some of the deepest, most powerful healing work that will help them realize they really can have it all.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. I like that, Kerry. Thank you so much for being on the show. This was really good. This was impactful. You know what I mean? Like, it really was. I think I don't know, I've gotten a lot out of it. I know my listeners are going to have a lot out of this too. So thank you so much for taking the time and being on and sharing with us all of your wealth of knowledge and inspiration.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. You have great energy. I love what you're putting out in the world. Your lipstick is fabulous. And we need girlfriends that have our back, that aren't catty, that can help lift us up, lift each other up, and realize that together we're stronger together. We are stronger together.
We are stronger
so for
together.
For all of our friends here, I just want to leave you with this. It really, like, no matter, please, from the bottom of my heart, I really am hoping that this lands. No matter what your current economic status is, or where your business is right now, or where your business isn't right now, or the shape of your body, or a scary diagnosis you might have, or a bankruptcy you're facing, or whatever it is, I promise you, you can shift your current experience. And, if you truly want to, and if you stay coachable and you get the coaching and you apply the coaching, you get powerful mentorship, powerful community, and powerful strategies and curriculum around you, you can shift. You can shift your results. And let go of the naysayers. It doesn't mean that, I think anybody can shift their current reality. It doesn't mean everybody is. Most people aren't. And so be careful on who you're surrounding yourself with. Be careful of who you're conversing with, and what words you're saying about your experience and the thoughts that you're having about what's possible for you.
Yes.
And just get the proper support. Get the proper support.
I love that. I love that. Be kind to yourself. Say better things to ourselves. Definitely. More positive things. Yes. Yeah. Well, listen, guys, this is the Girl Take No podcast. I am Shani Sanders, your host, and we will talk to you next time.